This assembly video, of course, by what the title says, is going to be for my Terminator Inspired kit that I made a while back. But there was only assembly diagrams, so now I want to do the assembly video, which I'm trying to do for all my kits. It's just taken me a while to go back while creating new kits, while also introducing new resin version of my kits. This is extremely tough, absolutely strong and flexible resin that I've had, that I commission isn't the right word, that I worked with a company on, special formulation. That's special formula. That's what I'm trying to think of. Extremely high resolution, extremely, like I said, extremely tough. It is tougher than the normal FDM kits. Weighs a little bit more than the FDM kits, but it cuts out about 99% of the prep work that's needed. Just probably 0.9% that's left that needs a little bit of cleanup here or there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get the Terminator kit out here, and we'll take a look at the new resin. Let me swap over down here. Grab my little spectacles here. Let me get all this out. I wanted to do resin versions, but of course normal resin, ABS-like, and most of the tough resins and stuff like that, they just don't cut it for like impact resistance and just durability. This, yeah, I'm beyond stoked, as you can see on my face how excited I am. I'm joking, but I'm very stoked about it. But let's get this out and we'll go through the assembly of this. I've been needing to do this for a long time, but this is a perfect time for me to go back through and talking about like the resin on thin parts like this. It's extremely strong, and you can flex it quite well, and like that's very flexible, and you let go and it'll come back, which is one of the things you need in a functional, durable kit. Is you need some flex. And besides just the durability, you'll see a lot of these 3D print resins that's like ultra tough with a really high hardness rating. Yeah, they're tough as far as like handling and gouging and stuff, but as far as impact rating, your impact rating is going to come from your flexural ability and your impact ability. All of that is going to be based off of the kind of flex, and basically most resins like ABS like, there's absolutely nothing that is ABS like about them. That was one of those keywords that companies latched onto for a little bit better durable resin over the standard resins. There's nothing ABS like about it. It doesn't sand like ABS. It doesn't perform like ABS. It doesn't bend like ABS. None of that. And most of these tough resins, it's kind of one of those sweet spots that most people with these resins are printing like miniatures and stuff. So those tough resins suffice for those miniatures just fine, but not so much for full size ones. So we gotta come up with a couple different strategies here to clean off some sanding dust. These kits, I will sand certain edges, the hidden edges, from where things are like printed or put together or whatever like that. The full like mating surface of that gets sanded verify the flatness of it and stuff. So let's go ahead and get this put together. There's our grips. We have our laser, the end of the laser, the back of the laser. We have our orange tip. And we have some various things, like this is going to be our laser bracket that mounts our laser to the back side of the, or to the front side of the laser mount bracket. And we have all our various little pieces here. And let's get all this laid to the side. We've got all our hardware here. Just rip the heck out of the bag. So we have a spring. We do have a metal rod for the spring and the trigger to ride on. We've got our grip screws, and we've got our screws that mount through this bracket right here. So let's go ahead, and we'll go ahead and put our trigger in first. I don't want to say the more difficult, but it's got to happen before we can put the slide on or anything else. So basically we need our trigger, our metal rod, and our spring. And what we're going to do here, in the body there's a hole in the front, and if you drop that rod in, you see it passes through right here and goes into the back. Well, before we let that rod completely in there, knock that back out real quick. What we have to do is there's a spring pocket right back here, and there's a spring pocket on the back of the trigger. We want to drop our trigger in and make sure that there's nothing, you know, like catching or in the way. The cool thing about this resin is most 3D print resins, if you go to cut it or trim it, it kind of shatters or turns to dust. This stuff is more like plastic. You can go along and, well, I was going to try to find a piece I could cut on without, you know, making that big of a impact. But here, I'll show you, because I need to go even out the back where these little nipples are at. But you can come down and it cuts just like plastic. It's more plasticity. Sure, there you go. Technical word. It has more bend to it and all that good stuff. So what we're going to do is put the spring into this back pocket, just like that. And this may take you a few times. I'm going to pull this back, and I'm going to go in with the hammer. And while I'm holding the hammer up, I'm going to take this spring and basically turn it into an S. So now it's in the hole there, it's in the hole there. And when I go in, whoop, don't let go of it. There you go. Pull it down, and now it's in there, and the spring's kind of right there. So now we're going to take our rod. We're going to push our rod in. We'll have to finagle with this a bit because that trigger is being pushed awfully hard. So now we made it through the trigger. We just made it through the spring, and we want to go into the body. Now hold your finger here. Verify all your stuff does what it's supposed to. All right, so that's in. So what we can do now is grab a little screwdriver. Let me knock this little nipple off that was right there. We'll put our slide on. We want to make sure that it fits okay and nothing's got it raised up. So let's go through here. Let's make sure there's nothing there. There's a few little nipples on here. Now, some of y'all have asked me, are these kits fully solid? Some parts are, some aren't. Like this slide and this frame, they're not. If they were, you wouldn't ever want to carry this around. It would be way too heavy and hell of expensive. Like you're talking 2 to 3 times as much as what the kit is. But the overall reason for it is solidness does not create, it creates flexural strength, keeps you from being able to flex. But when it comes to resin, when something's solid and you have an impact on it, If it's solid, the shock wave of that impact can travel through that solid medium, and that shock wave is actually what causes resin to basically explode. So these are hollowed out, like some parts are 2 mm walls, 3 mm walls, all the way up to like 4.5 mm walls, extremely thick, but they all have a crosshatch uh, print, resin printed lattice inside that adds to the rigidity while still allowing the dispersion of shock, which is an extremely important thing when you, especially when you're talking about something that you carry around. So on this, what we're going to do is we are going to come in here. We want to keep glue away from the trigger area right in here, so that way we make sure we don't push glue down and glue our trigger. That would be a bad thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come grab my glue. By the way, this is a CA glue, in case you're wondering. You can use like thick super glue. I prefer CA glue because it's basically thick super glue, but you can put it on, gives you a little bit more work time to get it where you want. You hit it with activator and it starts instantly setting and locks in place. This is a brand I've used for a while. I finally have got it worked out. I started carrying this on my website. It's actually a little bit cheaper than the retail price on my website on purpose, because a lot of you guys need glue. You know, access to good glue that, you know, is kind of proven to work with 3D prints quite well. It works great with my FDM prints or my resin prints, either one, until you don't bother to clean your end off and you get it all gummed up with glue. That's the way all my glue stays. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue, just a little bit on this top corner. I'm going to come down, put it in this channel and on this surface, these channels, and all across this surface. Not too much on by the outside, so when you put this together, it doesn't squish out everywhere. Because most of y'all will be putting this together after you paint. So I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to make sure I get both sides of that channel. Stay away from my trigger. Do that mating surface. Both sides of this channel. Come back here. Don't fill the channel up too much because you don't want to squish into your trigger. And that's about it. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pre-spray activator, just because there's so much glue here. And we want to hold pressure. I'm holding pressure backwards and down on it at the same time. So we make sure that we get it together nice and fit. And you may be able to notice there's things that might look like scratches in the resin. That's not, and you can't actually feel those. Basically, whenever these are fresh out of the printer and I've cleaned them really well before I final cure them, I'll have parts that'll rub together, and literally anything in the world will make a mark on them. But you cure them and there's not a texture. I could hit this with an airbrush and anywhere it looks like there may be, like see right there, that wouldn't even show up. It's just literally in the tacked surfaces of two parts touching. And a lot of time I have quite a bit of parts that are all being washed and cured at the same time. Unfortunately, this resin is extremely more expensive than FDM filament, especially this formulated resin. But it's kind of the nature of it. But again, FDM print, you got to prime, sand to get it all nice and smooth enough to paint. You can basically start painting these directly right out of the bag. They're ready to go. But like I said, there's a few little minor things that you might want to clean up, maybe a little nipple here or there, because when you put the laser on this, this is exposed in here. And again, you can come in with a razor blade, or you can come in with one of these. This is a little PVC pipe reamer. The aluminum handle ones suck. It flops around too much. That's why this is in here in my studio instead of out in my shop, because the one that I use every day as I'm cleaning up kits, I'll be damned if I'm going to deal with that, you know, because you go to use it and it flops the wrong direction, and it's just a pain in the butt. But anyways, so we're going to go ahead and glue together our laser. And you might see some like white dust like that. I do my best to clean that up, but that's also from the sanding process that I do on mating surfaces and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and always try to put your glue on the receiving end, so down in the hole around the walls instead of like on the shaft or the peg. That way, because if you put it on the peg and you push this together, it's going to squish glue out everywhere. If you put it inside the top edge of your hole, when you push it together, it pushes glue down inside the kit, or down inside the part, I should say. So I'm going to go ahead and go around this. And basically, I'm just hitting this top edge at kind of a 45 degree, more of it going down in the hole, excuse me, and then a little glob down there. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit that. And you can try to get some on the mating surface. It's really not necessary. That's the great thing about the flex in this. Like, this laser is hollow with the cross-printed hatch in there. The lattice, the really thick lattice work. So it's light, but it's extremely durable and strong. You know, it's not super high temp resistant. It is more than the FDM kits. If you heat it up, you can get it to like warp out of place. 9 times out of 10, if you take it out and when it cools down, it's going to slowly bring itself back to its original spot. If it doesn't, you can heat it up with like a hair dryer a little bit. Just be careful, you know, and give it a little nudge. You can get it back. And I say that because a lot of people take these to Comic-Cons. They'll leave them in their car or something like that where it gets extremely hot, and you know, they end up jacking up their kit, their replica, and you know, it's a sad thing. I've forgot things in my car before, and it's not a good feeling, especially when you pull out a lopsided print or a lopsided pistol or rifle or something. It's got a bow in it because it's set like this and it bowed down. Okay, so there's that. Now, if you notice, there's a long notch on the back of the laser here. There's a long notch on this. That will go in there like this. But before we put this on, we've got this dude right here. And this guy right here gets put together. If you notice, there's a notch in there and a notch in there. What we're going to do is we're going to just kind of rock it together like that and pop it together. We're going to end up gluing that. You're going to end up, this could go on either way. You want to put it to where the screws are. If you're holding this forward, it's going to be on your left-hand side. So I'm going to pop this back off, and we're going to grab us a little bit of glue. And normally I do like print on demand for my FDM kits because I can, you know, I can get to a pretty good amount at a time. These kits, I'll be producing 2 or 3 of each type of kit and putting them up. And, you know, if they're sold out, you can contact me and say, hey, I want one of these, and I can see about adding one into my print, like my production queue of resin. So when they do say sold out, they are sold out. So now if we put that in the back hole right there, when we glue this into here, then we're going to put our strap across the top right there. So what we're going, and to be honest with you, unless you're just dead set on wanting to take, well, I mean, you really can't take it off. You can take the loop off. I put a little glue in here and here. That way it adds strength to, if the clamp here, speaking of strength, like you can bend the piss out of this stuff and it's going to come like right back to shape. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do glue in 2 places. I'm actually going to put glue down inside here and try to do it without getting on the outside. Apologize for my shaky hands like normal. I've had way too much coffee. And I'm just going to put a little in the center line. That way it doesn't squish out too far anywhere. So then I'm going to take this, I'm going to pop that together. I'm going to set that right down in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and squeeze both places, but I'm going to hit with activator and I'm going to hold this. And don't press too much on the center because you'll get it to bow in, and that will scoot this down and glue in place. So you'll kind of glue a bow in there permanently. That's not what you want to do, of course. All right, so we've got that together. And now, if you take a look at your screws here, you'll notice that there's two screws in here that are smaller diameter thread. Let me get them out. Even though there's one screw longer than the other three here, the diameter of the thread's the same. And if you notice how much smaller that is, these are the two that we need. Because what we do is, you see there's a hook in this little bracket and there's a little hook on this side. We take that and pop that in there, and then we come around to this side and we will put our screws in there. And this is one of those things, this is why I glue the laser to this, is because carrying this around and stuff, you know, it's not FDM or resin print, it's not the strongest like connection unless you actually, you know, glue it. Screws will self-thread into the resin, no problem. Go ahead and get that just to where it starts pulling on that. The screws actually will cut their threads in the resin as it goes. So there's no need to like tap or drill out or anything like that. All right. So now that's nice and snug and tight. May have to scoot this around a little bit. It was not centered, so let me give another turn or two on here. I want to do it until it doesn't allow this to slide back and forth too easy. You need to do it just a little bit more. A little bit there and a little bit there. There we go. All right, so laser done. So what I want to do now, before I get all this other stuff on, I want to go ahead and put all this together. This is our front barrel piece that goes right in here. And so on that, nice and easy, we're just going to take and we're going to glue. I can get some glue. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. I did not need to do that. That was too much glue. I won't push it too hard and squish glue out everywhere. Some people ask me why I cut some parts up the way I do, because this slide will print standing up on this end. But see, after you put this piece in here, there is no like janky print surface at all. No against the glass or print bed or resin nipples or anything like that. So it's a nice finished end. So there's that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put on our rear sight. And that just goes down in this little groove here. So I'm going to take my badly dried closed bottle of glue and not do what I did where I over. And I'm just putting a little bit in there. There you go. That's about all I'm doing. And I'm going to turn my sight upside down and just hit it with a little activator. And set my sight in there. And that's another reason like why the sight's separate. Print's cleaner as a separate piece. It also can be painted separate. And when you paint stuff separate and then assemble it, you get to keep all these nice crisp joints and lines like that. It just comes out with a way better like finish to it. We're going to take our hammer and we're going to glue our hammer right into the back there. So if you notice, there's a square notch and there's a square notch right there. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in there. These are parts that you don't have to go overboard with. Especially if you don't go overboard and say you snag this or something and you break it. You have a better chance of being able to like dig the broken piece out, and you can just contact me and I'll get you some, you know, spare parts and stuff made up and sent to you. So that's the thing. I have, you know, I do sell spare parts for all of my stuff that I make. So we have our little tail nipple here, if you want to call it that, that pushes in, and it goes just like that. So it goes down at an angle. If you notice, there's a little dip right there, and on the bottom side there is no dip. I'm just going to take a little bit of glue. Just going to make sure well, this bottle is dried closed. And I'm going to push that in there. Get it nice and set where it's supposed to. Spray it. This dude right here, I almost forgot we didn't finish the laser. This guy right here, this goes on. So you notice, you see how this bracket comes down like below this like mock Picatinny rail here. If you notice this little piece right here, it has a lip that curves down, and it has a mating surface. So that goes in just like that, and it kind of mock locks it on like the real bracket is. So I'm just going to put a little glue in my, touch the glue to it, not a whole bunch. This, I am going to spray it. Some things I spray and some things I don't. If it's a part that'll hold itself while I let go of it and grab my glue, I don't bother to pre-spray, but this I knew would fall like as soon as I let go of it, trying to grab my glue and stuff like that, and don't want to risk it getting out of place. So now we have the little tightening nut, and we have the bracket and all that stuff on there. Okay, so this is our rear safety right here, and this goes in that little hole back there. Now where you want to set this is just below the slide right here, because normally you would turn this and click it up into place. That prevents the slide from being racked on a 1911, and you pop this down, and then at that point it allows you to chamber and stuff. So we're just wanting to set it to right before it contacts the bottom of the slide. So I'm going to wiggle that back out of there, and I'm just going to take a little bit, barely in the hole, and just a little bit outside the hole. Not a whole bunch, because this back end is not that thick. So you want to make sure you don't miss the size, what it's supposed to be. Okay. Okay. So if you notice, it's just right below the slide. So it looks like it's in the safety off position, or the lock slide position, I should say. Now this is the slide lock. It will go on just like this, and again, this one gets glued, just not quite touching the slide. If you were to pull this slide back, you could push this up, and that notch would lock in here, and that would lock the slide back. Kind of like on my Leon Kennedy Sentinel pistol kit. Has all the working stuff. It's got the same thing. You pull back, it's got a slide lock in it. You know, mag release, slide, hammer, lock it in. But the slide lock, that's what this thing represents right here, and you can just push it down and you're good to go. All right. So now we're at this point, we've got two different grips here. You see one's shorter and one's longer. The shorter one's going to be for this side that has this indentation. That's where the laser bracket is going to go. We're going to flip this over. And again, if you remember, we were talking about, we've got 4 screws left. There's a longer and 3 the same. Take one of the same of the, that's the same as the 3. Take one of those and take the longer and set it off to the side. That's going to be the other side. So these 2 are going to be for the grip. And all we're going to do is we're going to push this in here until we feel it touch the hole. Give it a little tiny twist just to get it set in the hole. There we go. And don't stab your part. This is one of these things that you could pre-screw these screws in and take them out so they go in and out easier. Because as some of y'all may know how bad I hate, sorry, I got to hold this back. I hate flat blade screws, like with an absolute passion. I can't believe it took them so many years to develop something besides a flat blade, but all right. Hard for me to reach out and show you guys and hold any stability and stay in the screw. Now, once you get inside the grip, the screwdriver will stay in better, and just give them a snug little twist. And you'll feel them when they tighten down, for sure. Okay, so this guy here, there's a notch in the bottom that locks it into this grip. What you got to do first is you have to put the laser on. So you're going to need the longer screw. And we're going to just drop that in that hole right there. And let me just get this started a little bit and I'll hold it up. All right, there we go. All right, so we're just going to screw and screw and screw. Again, make sure you have a good fitting flat blade screwdriver. The better fitting it is with the wider matching of the screw, the easier it is to hold. And again, I would pre-assemble, you know, screw the grips on and take them back off, then paint, put things back together. Some of y'all may ask, yes, regular 1911 grips will fit on here, but they have to be the full length grips, not the little short, weird frames thing that they make now. The only difference is this grip over here, which you can take a standard grip, measure it and cut it off if you're wanting to like get you a specific textured style grip. You can just put your regular 1911 set of grips on here. So that's on there now. We're going to take this dude and slide that up into the notch. And that screw right there. I'm going to hold my tongue just right. I'm going to get it started. And now I'm going to hold it in a position that's a little bit easier for me to deal with. And holding a finger or something, allowing it to rotate around the screwdriver to rotate against your finger, or a little wall blocking like I'm doing with my thumb. It helps every time you reset your hand to screw. It keeps you from like sliding out of the head of the screw. Okay. So now this is fully assembled. The cool part about it is even the FDM has some flex in this bracket. With this resin, I can flex the piss out of that and let go, and it'll slowly go back to where it wants to. So it makes it real durable, especially for like dropping it and, you know, hitting like that and everything else. Instead of this being super rigid, it's got some flex to give, so it makes this all durable. But so there is the Terminator Inspired hardballer. It's got the, with, you know, the functioning trigger and stuff, full accurate size scale and everything to it. So I hope y'all enjoy it. I hope y'all enjoy the resin version just as much as y'all have enjoyed the FDM version, because boy, I'm telling you. But anyways, so there it is. What I love about it is these resin versions. Now, this is the assembly for the FDM or the resin. They're the exact same kit. So the assembly is the exact same. Just with the resin, you could start painting the parts right out of the box versus the FDM. Of course, you got to do some of the priming, sanding, and sanding to prep it and get it where it needs to be. If you guys notice when you're assembling the trigger that there's some drag, make sure there's not any little nipples or anything like that. If you still think there's a little too much drag, like on the rod, you can put you some, any lithium-based, PTFE-based lubricant will work fine on that rod and make it nice and strong. So, but yeah, so there it is. There is the Terminator Inspired Hitman. If you guys have any questions, just shoot me a comment here on the video. Please like and subscribe. It does help. It helps get the videos out and gets people to watch them, which in turn allows me to make more of them, more kits and more really cool replicas and stuff. I think they're cool anyways. And I'm assuming if you're here, you think they're cool. But or run over to my website, shoot me an email from there. But again, I appreciate it and have a good one.